When I think about the people in my life who are generally happiest, they all have a very similar life path. They figured out what they like to do at a young age. They pursued it intensely through their 20s.
So we got the parts and we built 100 computers and we sold 50 of them for cash and 29 days paid off the distributors. And that's how we got started.
And then through all those hours, all those repetitions, they simply got better than people who started later in life. And that advantage made them wildly successful. For me, I super optimized my 20s around startups and building technology companies. Inventing things has always been my passion. When I was 17, I launched my first company. It failed. When I was 22, I launched my second. It failed in a more prolific way. But with attempt number 3, at the age of 24, I co-founded a company, and that company was hugely successful. And there's no trick or anything secretive about this process of chasing your dreams in your 20s. But because someone had to explain it to me, I thought that I would pay it forward and share the 5 principles to chasing your dreams as a young person with the internet. It would be remiss for me to start this video and not share a framework to help people figure out what their passion is at a young age, because there is a ton of incredibly frustrating career advice out there. A quick Google search will tell you to create a personal vision statement or uncover your values. The best advice I ever got about finding your passion, figuring out what you should commit your 20s to, is to get really busy. Fill up your schedule and get as busy as you can. You can sort of think of it like Darwin's theory of natural selection. The elements of your life will start to compete with one another for your attention. The things that you don't really care about, they'll fall by the wayside. The things that you do care about, they will remain. And what remains, those are the hints. This is the start of the journey. These are the things, the precious things that you need to care for, that you need to investigate and dive deeper into. For me, this was college in a nutshell. I thought the idea of starting companies was really interesting, but I also thought maybe I should study finance or become a lawyer, or real estate that was environmentally friendly was also really interesting. I didn't really know what I wanted to do. But college was also a huge blessing for me because it forced me to get really, really busy. I had to study, I had a job, so there were only a few hours left at the end of each night. First, I stopped going out. Then I stopped researching real estate that was environmentally friendly. And what remained was startups. I listened to the greats, Mark Schuster, This Week in Startups, Jason Calacanis. Every night I was on Hacker News, signing up for the beta versions of new startup products. I knew what great products looked like, what they felt like, and I certainly knew that what I was creating wasn't any good. But the fact that I was doing this every night was a hint. There was something here that I needed to cultivate. And because I had that focus, I was always looking for opportunities. And that first opportunity came in the form of mentorship. Principle 2, how to attract a mentor. It's highly unlikely that an idea or a book is going to be the catalyst that helps you achieve your dream. It's much more likely that access to another human is going to be that catalyst, because there are things that you know you don't know, and then there are things that you don't know that you don't know. Things that you never imagined, but if learned, would be totally game-changing for you. This is the cheat code of having a mentor. So there are 2 really important criteria for identifying a mentor. First, this individual should be doing as close to the type of work that you want to be doing. And secondly, you need a lot of access to this person. Monthly is just not enough. You should be able to meet with this person at least weekly, but daily is preferable. So to attract a mentor, you're going to have to make them an offer they just feel dumb refusing. And generally that means 1, you're probably going to have to work for free, and 2, you're probably going to have to volunteer to do some super tedious element of their work that they no longer want to do. So I got my first major opportunity when I met a venture capitalist by the name of TK. You can sort of think of him like a Shark Tank judge, so he invests and builds his own startup companies. When I met him, I volunteered to write things called due diligence reports for him totally for free. A due diligence report you can sort of think of like a college essay. It's the ins and outs of a startup that a venture capitalist is thinking about investing in. So what would happen is TK would introduce me to a potential founder that he was thinking about investing in. I'd get on the phone with them and we'd talk for a very long time about the company they're building, who they are, the market, the competition. And I would write up these reports. It would take me days. And then what would happen is I'd turn them back to TK, and he'd get on the phone with his partner Chris, and I would listen in as they made their investment decisions. This was a world-class education in technology companies. I put everything that I had into those reports. I showed them how much I cared, so naturally they continued to invest more time into me, and then years later, they ended up investing $250,000 into my first startup company. That relationship was the catalyst. Again, it wasn't an idea, it wasn't a book, it was another person that helped me to achieve my dream. Principle 3, develop a network. One of the benefits of working with a mentor is naturally their group of industry friends is going to become your group of industry friends. Like the mentor that I shared with you earlier, TK, we share hundreds of mutual connections together. There is no one else on LinkedIn that I share more connections with than him. This is a huge opportunity because if you build your network the right way, the opportunities that your network finds also become your opportunities. So let me give you some best practices on building your network. The key to any professional relationship is to be Disney happy, FedEx fast. People want to work with others who are happy, uplifting, and do what they say they are going to do. You want to be as happy as Mickey Mouse, and you want to be as fast and reliable as FedEx. The second tip to building a network is a lot of people make the mistake of only trying to network with people who are more successful than they are. And that's a huge mistake because what happens is your network actually ends up becoming people who are about the same age as you, who achieve about the same level of success. What you have to remember is all those years that you are heads down, working super hard, developing your skill, your peers are doing the exact same thing. And one day you're gonna pop your head up and look around and say, wow, all these people who I knew who were just getting started on the journey about the same time as me, they're all super successful now. And so what you wanna do is you wanna develop relationships with people who are about the same level as you, or going through the same challenges you are, and building meaningful relationships and growing together. And lastly, the third tip of building a great network is that while you want to meet a lot of people, you actually want to be highly selective about those that you do work with, because the work relationships that you have will compound exponentially. Over time, your team and the collective work that you are creating will get better and better and better. People who hop around from group to group trying to build new things don't experience this exponential growth. Principle 4, launch your first shitty startup. So this concept sounds like it might just apply to entrepreneurs, but it applies to anyone who has a dream. So once you start developing your network and finding people that you like to work with, you're going to have to start to create a huge volume of work. You want to create as much work as you possibly can. But that all starts with launching your first big product. I think that Justin Kahn, the co-founder of Twitch, puts it perfectly. Your first startup is probably going to be terrible, and that's okay. Building a shitty first startup is one of the most important things you will ever do. The truth is, the first startup you launch or the first art show you host, whatever that first big piece of work is, it's probably going to suck. Or if you're like me, your first 2 startups are going to absolutely suck. But it's going to be the most important thing that you ever do for achieving your dream. I remember when I launched my first venture-backed startup. It was late summer night in a co-working space. I was pretty much all alone. And I remember thinking, when I launch this thing, like the whole world is gonna stop. They're gonna be totally amazed by how cool this idea is. And I sent the launch email and I watched the Google Analytics and I saw maybe 25 people pop up on the site. But slowly but surely, they just faded until there were absolutely 0. And I remember going home that night and I fell face forward on my bed thinking, what have I done? I just wasted all of the investor money. I gave up a great opportunity to work at a company in New York, and I totally failed. And I remember my good friend Cal emailed me that night and he asked, hey, how was the launch? How did it go? And I responded to him telling him that I thought it was a total failure. And what he responded back had a huge impact on me. He said, dude, first day of business is not gonna be hot. The key is to stick with it. Hustle, baby. And that's what we did. We hustled, baby. Whatever your dream may be, you have to get as many repetitions as possible. You need to do a lot of work, as much work as you can, because one day, after many years, you will look up and you will realize that you have become the top 1% of some skill, a skill that you deeply care about. But it all starts with launching your first shitty startup, or publishing that first cringy YouTube video, or holding that first major art gallery. It all starts with the first big piece of work. Principle 5, invest yourself poor. So once you've been creating work with tenacity for years, people are going to start to recognize that you are elite at the skill, and you will start to get paid for whatever it is that you're doing. And it's going to be tempting to take that money and buy nice things. But the best advice I ever got when you start to make money is you want to invest yourself poor. Go take all of that money and invest it back into learning new things, meeting new people, creating better work. Right when you start to make some money, there's popular advice that you should put that money into the stock market. But the reality is that's really bad advice. Like if you have $10,000 and that $10,000 makes 10% a year, that just means that you have an extra $1,000, and that doesn't really do anything for you. It doesn't help you get further or better at your dream. Like for me, when I started to make a small amount of money, I invested it back into executive coaching. I knew how to grow a 2, 3, 4 person company, but as our company grew from 10 to 15 to 20, man, I was so out of my league and I was hindering our growth. So taking that, say, $10,000 and investing it back into myself, it ended up being one of the best decisions I ever made, because I traded the potential for a $1,000 payday at the end of the year for now learning how to manage teams that can produce over $1,000 a day. As you start to make money, as you start to think about investing that money, early on, you want to reinvest all of it back into education and learning. Final thoughts. So to recap, there's a long but super straightforward path to achieving your dreams at a young age. First, you want to get really busy to figure out what your passion is. 2, you need to attract a mentor that you have a lot of access to. 3, you want to develop a network of people and figure out who you want to end up doing a lot of work with. 4, you want to launch your first shitty startup. And 5, you need to invest yourself poor. And if you do that for a long period of time, eventually you will achieve the dream. You will find financial freedom, and you can be wherever you want to be, working on whatever you want at any point in time. After that, you can optimize for whatever you want. Charity, building family. Who knows, maybe you'll become a mentor for someone else. Thanks so much for watching. See you next time.